There is a moment that happens in a lot of young learners' classrooms. You play a short listening, the language is familiar, you've taught the vocabulary, shown the picture, maybe even practiced the keywords beforehand. And then the recording starts. One child looks at you, another looks at the ceiling. Someone starts playing with a pencil, and one student just looks completely lost. So, what do we often say? We say, "Come on, pay attention, listen carefully. You know these words." And then we press play again. But here's the question I want you to ask before you do anything. And that question is, what if the child isn't actually failing to pay attention? What if they are trying to listen, but the listening itself is simply too difficult to process? That distinction matters. If the real problem is attention, redirecting the child makes sense. But if the real problem is processing, telling them to pay attention doesn't solve anything. It can make things even worse. Imagine a 5-year-old hears, "Where is the little boy going?" The child doesn't answer. The teacher thinks he wasn't listening, but maybe he was. Maybe he recognized boy, maybe he recognized going, maybe he understood the picture. He just couldn't process the whole question quickly enough to work out what was being asked. From the teacher's side, the child looks disengaged. From the child's side, he may have been working very hard. If you are new here, this is Teaching Dream, and this channel builds for exactly this kind of moment. If that's useful to you, hit follow, because we are building a full teaching skill set, one episode at a time. By the end of this video, you will have the 5-question routine you can run the next time a child goes quiet during listening. So instead of guessing, you will know exactly what to check first. Here's the idea I want you to with today. A child who looks like they aren't listening may actually be struggling to listen. Those are two completely different problems. And if we confuse them, we reach for the wrong fix. We tell the child to concentrate when what they need is support. We repeat the recording when what they need is a clearer purpose. We simplify the language when the language was never the problem. So before you change anything, ask, what exactly is making this difficult to process? Is the language unfamiliar? Is the child struggling to recognize familiar words in spoken form? Is too much information arriving at once? Do they know what they are listening for? Or is the task too demanding? Or even attention actually is the problem? You don't need the answer immediately. You just need to stop treating every listening failure the same way, because young learners usually can't tell you which one it is. They can't say that. The only thing they can say is that I knew the word, I just couldn't separate it from the sentence. All you get is blank face. Our job is learning to read that blank face differently. Let's look at 4 reasons a child can know the English and still fail to understand it when they hear it. Imagine a student who knows the word elephant. He can point to it, of course in a picture. He can pick it out of a list. He can probably say it himself. You play a recording. Look at the elephant. He doesn't react. They know elephant. You think, why didn't they understand it? Because knowing a word and recognizing that inside the real connected speech are related, but they're not the same skill. On a page, word has a clear boundary. Elephant. It sits there. The child can look at it, take his time. In listening, on the other hand, there are no boundaries, just a stream of sound the child has to break apart in real time. Say a phrase your student already know, like, what did you do? On the board, 4 clear words. Now say it the way you actually say. What did you do? So here is the teaching move. When a child doesn't respond to the familiar word, don't automatically reteach the meaning. First, ask, can they recognize the word inside spoken language? That's a different diagnosis, and it leads to a different fix. Often the fix isn't reteaching vocabulary. It is giving the child a clear listening purpose and letting them hear the word inside real sentences again and again until recognition catches up with knowledge. Written English gives us spaces spoken English doesn't. On the page, what did you do? 4 words, clear gaps. In natural speech, those words connect. Some sounds get swallowed. Function words fade. Our brains fill the gap using sound, context, and expectation so fast we don't even notice we are doing it. A developing listener is still building that skill. So they are not the same. That reframes the question we should be asking. Not do they know the word, but can they find and recognize the word when it's moving inside connected speech? Think about what you do as an adult listener. In a noisy cafe, someone says, Sarah's taking the train to Boston tomorrow. You don't catch every word clearly, but you catch Sarah, train, Boston. That's enough. That's enough to build the message. That's not a listening failure. That's how listening actually works. Children need that same permission. Tell a young learner, listen carefully and understand everything. And you can hand them an impossible job. They miss one word, start worrying about it, and miss the next 3 words while they're still stuck on the first. The whole listening collapses. Not because English was hard, but because we gave them the wrong goal. Instead, give them an anchor. 1 or 2 pieces of information that matter for this specific task. Hearing the boy is riding a bike in the park, instead of listen and understand, try listen who and where. Listening for boy and park. Not decoding 9 words perfectly. This isn't only listen for nouns and verbs. The anchor changes with the purpose. Ask, who's speaking? And the anchor is a name. Ask, how does she feel? And the anchor is an emotion word. The principle is simply give children a manageable target and match it to what the task actually needs. One more thing worth flagging here, because we will build on it in part 2. Sometimes The barrier isn't the language or the listening purpose. It is everything else stacked on top of listening, like reading questions or writing answers at the same time. Keep that possibility in your diagnosis. The child in front of you may be failing the job, not the English. When children struggle, almost every teacher reaches for the same fix: slow down. That sounds logical, except sometimes it backfires. That's the real difference between adjusting your pace and distorting the language. Compare where is the cat, every word separated equally stressed, nothing the real conversation, with where's the cat? Pause. Can you find a cat? The second keeps the English recognizable while giving the child more support. This matters because if we constantly stripe the natural rhythm of our speech, children get very good at understanding us and then struggle the moment they hear anyone else because ordinary English doesn't sound like that. That doesn't mean never adjust your pace. With a very young beginner, speaking a little more slowly, using shorter utterances, repeating, pausing, that's a good teaching. The mistake is assuming slower is automatically better. Stretch every word apart and you can make speech harder to connect with how English actually sounds. Here is what to do instead. Keep the sentence natural and add a meaningful pause rather than dismantling the sentence. Look at this. The boy is hiding behind the chair. Pause. Give processing time. Then behind the chair or under the chair. You have supported the child with the context, a clear question, and time without destroying the sentence to do it. Decision rule. If students need more processing time, reach for a meaningful pause before you for slow repeated word by word speech. And before you slow down at all, ask one question. Is speed actually the problem? Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the child doesn't know what to listen for, or that's no context, or the task is asking too much. Don't automatically change the variable that's easiest for you to change. Change the one actually causing the difficulty and problem. So, we have now got several possible reasons a child might struggle. Unfamiliar language, familiar language they can't recognize in speech, trying to catch every word, no clear listening purpose, or simply needing more processing time. Two children can give you the exact same response, a blank face, for two completely different reasons. Here is how to tell them apart with 5 quick checks. 1. Do they know the language at all? Show a picture of an apple. Ask, what's this? If they don't know, vocabulary really may be part of it. But don't stop here. Knowing the word alone doesn't prove they can recognize it in speech. The second one, can they recognize it when they hear it? Say, the girl has an apple, and see if they can point to it. If yes, they can connect sound to meaning. If not, the problem is recognition, not vocabulary, a different fix entirely. The third one is, do they understand the question, not just the recording? A child might understand Tom has a blue bicycle perfectly and still phrases as at what color is Tom's bicycle, because the question itself is the barrier. With very young learners, especially, a complicated question can test listening, vocabulary, memory, and production all at once, and you won't know which one failed. The fourth thing you need to consider is if they can show understanding without speaking or writing. Play the dog is under the chair. Show 2 pictures. Say, show me. A correct point can reveal comprehension. Children often understand more than they can say. And the last but not the least, what happens when we change one thing? Add a picture. Change the question. Give more time. Whichever change fixes it tells you what was missing. Change one variable. Observe. You just need enough evidence to make a better decision. Be careful. A correct response is evidence, not proof. A nod, a copied answer, a lucky point at the right picture. None of that guarantees comprehension, because listening comprehension is invisible. We only ever see the response. Good listening teachers gather more than one signal before they trust it. Let's talk about decision rule. If a child struggles, don't automatically replay the same recording the same way. Change one part of the listening. Change the condition first. So the replay actually teaches you something instead of just giving the child another chance to fail again. So let's come back where we started. A good listening teacher is not someone who owns a big library of listening activities. They are someone who can look at a listening failure and ask, what exactly failed here? The language, the recognition, the purpose, the task, the response, or my support? Once you start asking that question, listening stops being press play, check the answers. It becomes a real process. Observe. From a hypothesis, change one variable, watch what happens, and decide. A child who looks like aren't listening may actually be struggling to listen. Those are different problems. Diagnose before you fix. A child who looks they aren't listening may actually be struggling to listen. Those are different problems. Diagnose before you fix. That's the mindset I want you carrying into your next listening lesson before you even talk about which activity to use. Okay, before your next listening lesson, pick one activity from your course book. Don't change the recording. Just write down 3 things. What do I actually want students to understand? The second one is, what actually should they listen for? And the third one is, what's the simplest way they can show me they understood? Then, when a child struggles, don't say, pay attention. Don't slow the language down and don't press play again automatically. Ask first, what exactly is making this difficult? Think about your own class. Next time a student goes quiet during listening task, is it usually the language, the recognition, the purpose, or the task itself? Tell me in the comment. I'll pool the most common answers into part 2. We have spent the whole episode understanding why listening is hard. In part 2, we move from understanding to designing how do you build a listening task that gives children a fair shot. without simplifying the English itself. That's next. I'm waiting for you.